The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
This is Jordan Grace, and you're listening to the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
BWB, this is One Nation Radio. You better get it right. Rich Latta, James Boyd came to give them life. The Blackest Wrestling Podcast is coming to kick all ass and drop it 6 feet if they kicking trash. Word, let me welcome y'all to something different. And if you dig it, man, you should let some friends listen. We be getting it in, that's on the regular, dude. Ravish and flow, but this shit rule. See, James don't rap, so I had to break it down. The whole network, man, we coming for the crown. Raps in the columns, I keep them both covered. Making the beats too, so the listeners can bump it. Hit us with the rating, yeah, I'm saying it's a 5. Before you hit it, talk, bob your head side to side. It's One Nation Radio, and this is the beginning. It's Rich, and I'm here with James. It's time to listen to One Nation.
You got to unleash the power of the pyramid.
This is Mike Sempervive from WrestlingObserver.com. Check me out on Wrestling Observer Live every day. And also check out your boys, Rich and James, on One Nation Radio.
This is Kenny Omega. We're listening to One Nation Radio. Check it out, guys. These guys know what's up. Big Kenny Omega fans, and that's all that counts to me. Goodbye and good night. Bang.
Welcome to the what is it? November 25th edition.
November 25th, sir.
Yep. My calendar disappeared on the bottom of my computer, but November 25th edition of One Nation Radio. I'm your host, Rich Latta, here, of course, with my co-host, James Boyd. James, what's going on, man?
Not too much, man. I missed Starrcade, but hopefully you'll fill me in on the good stuff.
Yeah, it was a, decent event. It was, an hour long, edited down. They had a lot of other stuff that did not get aired, which I would have enjoyed seeing air.
Yeah.
Just a regular standard show. Good way to spend a Sunday night. If you have an hour to watch, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing them do more things like that. I think they did a little too much talking for me, but ultimately one of them set up a match. Actually, both of them ended up setting up matches. But we got a solid 12-minute cage match with Styles and Joe. Nothing crazy, probably like a 3.25. Joe, of course, taps out and all that, but we'll start at the top, and I've got some of the results that I'm going to focus on here. So in the stuff that we did not see, or at first, they opened with Elias in the ring playing, his concert, and he brought out Ric Flair, of course, because Ric Flair is synonymous with Starrcade. He headlined, I want to say, at least 9 of them from matches against Harley Race, Sting, Eric Bischoff, which is strangely kind of fun.
Dusty Rhodes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lots of Lex Luger, I believe, as well. So, Flair was out, dressed fresh to death as always. And, he was in there talking about, he's always wanted to walk with Elias. And then the women came out and interrupted him. So, and by the women, I mean Nia Jax, Tamina, Alicia Fox, and Mickie James said they were here to walk with Elias too. Nia Jax got a whole bunch of boos. She was trying to sing and sang terribly on purpose, which was pretty funny. Flair just had this look in his eyes like he was, talking about all the ladies that wanted to walk with Elias. He looked like he was trying to induct a couple new members of Space Mountain. You should have seen how he was looking at Mickie James.
You said Tamina, Nia, Alicia Fox, and Mickie James, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I got a bunch of jokes, but I'm going to save them. They're not appropriate, so I'm just going to leave it alone.
Yep. So they basically got into a whole deal and singing and all that. Elias basically was like, yeah, this ain't exactly going to work. They got interrupted by Sasha Banks' music. She came out there with the good guy team of Ember Moon, Sasha, Bayley, and Dana Brooke. And that broke into an 8-woman tag. And, decent match. Sasha ended up getting the submission win over Alicia Fox. She looked like a goddamn star, as always. Of course, she won the gear battle, probably followed by Alicia. And, it was a decent opener. I think they were put there on the show to give it some type of Raw presence. That was the only Monday Night Raw stuff that we got pretty much tonight. After that, to the untelevised portion, they had a match between Finn Balor and Drew McIntyre, which did not make air, probably for, various reasons. Let me see if I can get that result. Yeah, McIntyre went over in about 10 minutes with a Claymore kick. Balor got a pretty good reaction, what is said to be the most over face on the first half of the show. Ziggler was out there interfering and, doing whatever. So we might get that McIntyre and Balor program that everyone was talking about.
Based on what happened at the show last night, was the non-televised stuff on first, and then they decided to air the stuff on the second half of the show, or was it the stuff that got aired was the first half of the show?
So it was like kind of split up. So, the opener of the show was actually Elias and the women's match. From there, it goes in order. And then what they showed was like different parts of the show because they left. You'll see as we go through it.
Why do you think they did it like that? Because normally when there's dark show or there's dark stuff on the end of SmackDown or whatever else, it's on the end, tacked on the end of the night. Why do you think they did it this way?
I think they just played it like their regular card and figured that they would just put together what they wanted to in editing. And one thing that was really cool was like when they cut out to bring something else back in, it was getting started right away. So we didn't really have to wait for them to mess around.
No backstage shenanigans with R-Truth or Stephanie?
Nope. Not on this night. So that was pretty cool to see. Speaking of R-Truth, we got to cut in with this. So somehow, I don't know who decided to tweet this out, but James saw it as well. If y'all have not seen it, it is absolutely hilarious. So someone decided to tweet R-Truth's opening vignette for like when he was being introduced to the company in like 2008, and he looked like he was walking through his neighborhood, and I'm from North Kakalaki essentially, and talking about how rough it was and the life that he used to lead, and it was kind of like the 2000s version of Making a Difference Fatu. Like, what did you think of this, James?
I didn't think of it like that until you just mentioned it, but I was thinking one lines like this is almost like the Smoky Mountain wrestling stuff with New Jack and the gangsters, and then they're just like going through these neighborhoods, except like, the gangsters wasn't about no positivity. It was just about being gangsters,
Yes.
Our truth was almost like, I went in, I'm getting out. It's almost like, it was almost like a PSA, it just like, got to do the right thing, get your life together, and I'm trying to do this and that third. And then meanwhile, like while I was like in the pen, and I'm out, I'm back on these streets and I'm dancing.
Yes.
Just so ridiculous.
I don't know what they were doing, but y'all have to find it. It's hilarious. It's in 2008. I'm not sure like the month or anything, but I'm sure you can like Google R-Truth opening vignette or something, and it will pop up. And this is just pure comedy at its purest form. But back to Starrcade. So after that, the B team defeated the Revival. The Raw tag team division continues to be an absolute dumpster fire. Curtis Axel pinned Dash Wilder with a sunset flip. SmackDown was on there after that. Cesaro and Sheamus defeated the New Day to retain their titles in about 8 minutes. Sheamus hit the Brogue kick, and it was said to be a comedy match. After that, Baron Corbin issued an open challenge since Braun Strowman wasn't on the card. That was who he was supposed to wrestle, and Strowman has the elbow injury. So he issues an open challenge, and none other than Bray Wyatt answered him, who hasn't been seen in months. So Wyatt answered and he got a really big reaction. The news was all over Twitter last night. And Bray Wyatt was a babyface still, which is good. He doesn't need to be a heel anymore because it doesn't work. Let's just, without digging up our long memories here of Bray Wyatt's run on One Nation Radio, which we've covered essentially from the beginning, saying that some ain't right.
Yeah, nobody ever gets over in a Bray Wyatt feud when he's a heel.
Yes, yeah. And then, we ended up getting Bray Wyatt versus Baron Corbin. Corbin was doing a lot of stalling, and they had about a 5-minute match. Wyatt won with a roll-up, which is disheartening, that they wouldn't even let him beat him with his finish. But Corbin reordered the match to be started as a no DQ, and then brought out Ziggler and McIntyre. After that, Bray Wyatt then defeated Baron Corbin in the no DQ match because Elias and Balor made the save, and then Wyatt ended up hitting Corbin with the Sister Abigail. So it was weird, all that. After that, Charlotte and Asuka, a WrestleMania 34 rematch. So
the best match of WrestleMania 34.
Yeah. They were said to have a good match. They went about 10 minutes in a babyface match, so they have no idea what they're actually doing with Charlotte. So the weird stuff continues. They don't know whether they want to make her rip off Becky Lynch. They don't know whether she's a heel. They don't know whether she's beating up good guys by herself. This is weird.
Well, good thing there are no such thing as babyfaces and heels anymore this day and age.
Yeah. After that, they embraced and everything like that. Speaking of bracing, and Rey Mysterio was out next with Shinsuke Nakamura on Miz TV. Rey Mysterio just had a similar thing happen to him, as far as like with the neck pilmanization, the way he got beat down by Randy Orton after SmackDown, or at the end of SmackDown. He put Rey's neck inside the steel chair and banged it off the post, so he came out with a neck brace on. So immediately I was like, wow, he's less tough than Ronda Rousey, who just 24 hours before that was pilmanized and then showed up smiling like it was all good. And, she had a couple welts, but that wasn't going to stop her. So James has been going in on the Ronda Rousey jokes all weekend.
I can't remember last time there was something that they did that was just like, this isn't a matter of opinion. You made everything on your show not make, like, why should I care about anything on your show if you're doing that? Like, what was so important for you to have to pilmanize her for you to then, like, have her walk it off, show up the next day, to cut a promo with what was supposed to be a crushed fucking a voice box and trachea, and then wrestle? Like, she can't be on TV. She can't be on TV for a week. A week.
Yeah, yes. It's
and then after they do that, basically if you're just watching Raw or you're watching Survivor Series and you're watching Raw, basically they shot 2 injury angles and basically from the semi-main event with Rousey to the main event with Daniel Bryan to the opening of the Raw show. You had 2 segments that were injury angles, one after the other, basically, with one segment in between. And one of them, the first one, you basically said, "Oh, it's all bullshit." You showed us it's all bullshit, and then you expect us to actually give a fuck about Braun Strowman's like elbow. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, they made it really hard for us to feel like anything means anything. But let's see, we had a couple comments. Miguel said a pretty good show. Simon said Samoa Joe is Dolph Ziggler. Miguel said this brought back memories of Sunday Night Heat.
So Samoa Joe is like AJ Styles is Ember Moon, like personal driver. You come to me, and I'm every single time, because he's tapped out to him 3 times in a row now, right?
I didn't watch the Crown Jewel match, so if that was a submission, that would be yes.
Yes. He tapped out of Crown Jewel.
Jesus, that calf pressure ain't no joke. That calf pressure ain't no game apparently. So, Simon says, "Yeah, go ahead."
AJ Styles would have made Brock Lesnar tap out.
Dude, the way this is going now, shit. So Simon says, technically, this is AJ's first main event since Clash of Champions, and he's not even the champ anymore. He did main event Fastlane, Simon. I don't know if you knew that, but I totally get you because it's been so long since Fastlane, you could easily forget.
This isn't a real pay-per-view, so I'm still saving it. So, but just wait till we get to TLC when they're the main event. Him and Brian are the main event of TLC. You're gonna be like, oh, so now he gets to be the main event. Now he's not the fucking champion. Are you serious?
I hope they're the main event.
Look, and the best part about it is now that Dank or the word is not the best part about it is because what happened with Roman, but now that Roman is on this is off to care for his own health, AJ is the top merch seller in the company.
Yeah, I wonder if that'll be emphasized at all.
So he's the top guy now, merch wise, and all the shit they always talk about. Like you're the top guy because you sell the most merch, and da 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 da. So he's the top guy right now by far and away, and they took the belt off him the second he became the top guy. What the fuck are y'all doing?
Oh, that's funny.
On TV, not as a payoff to whatever else. Like literally right before, one of the 5 or 6 biggest shows of the year, you decide to take the ball off him.
Like, nah, we need that back.
And then sidelined him, so he's not even on the show. He's not even on the Team SmackDown. He's just home. Like, I wonder if there's an injury. I kind of am wondering, but apparently not because he just wrestled. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it was a schedule. I heard there was a request for him to drop the title coming up soon from AJ, but I know he's got he's the subject of some contract rumors, and we're going to get to that later with All Elite Wrestling.
Oh, yeah, it's coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, it is coming up.
Been 3 years, yeah.
Yeah. So after that, Rey Mysterio and Nakamura got into it after Miz was instigating, of course. Miz was back to being a heel show. Nakamura and Rey Mysterio had a match. After about 2 minutes, Miz grabbed Mysterio. They whooped Rey's ass, essentially, until Rusev ran out. So we got Rey Mysterio and Rusev taking on Nakamura and The Miz. That went about 5 minutes, and there was a 619 and a Masha kick on Miz. And they got the pin. Big Rusev Day chance real quick. They showed some highlights of Sting and Flair to the crowd from '89 while the cage got put up. So in our main event of the evening on the network, we got AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. About 12 minutes. Styles put on the hold. Samoa Joe tried to get the referee to break it, but of course there's no rules, so him getting to the ropes didn't matter, and he just tapped out. After that, this is a main event we did not see. Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental title in a steel cage match. Said to be a great match. Went about 20 minutes. Crowd was hot for both guys, especially Ambrose because the show was in his hometown. So I don't think Dean Ambrose got any type of heat off of that Roman Reigns line that he said where Roman Reigns has to deal with the Lord. Yeah, none of that. So they said they used the cage a lot. There was a kendo stick. Ambrose was begging off like a heel. Rollins ended up getting the victory, and I saw this on Twitter. Like he slid down up just to the side of the door. So as Ambrose was trying to come out the door, Rollins kicked it shut and jumped down. Interesting that they didn't go with that match, so maybe they're trying to protect that for TLC. But yeah, that was Starrcade. I mean, someone said this was like a really big flex for WWE to just make Starrcade a random house show that they showed. And then something you brought to my attention, James, I thought it was really interesting and petty of WWE.
Oh, you want me to explain it?
Yeah.
Oh, so there's like a convention of a bunch of different old timers.
WrestleCade.
Yeah, WrestleCade. WrestleCade is, I don't know if it's a thing where it was always in North Carolina, but last year was in North Carolina, and WWE decided to book a Starrcade and put it in the same town, same area, whatever else, and basically made people choose. Like, do you want to, spend your money and go meet some of the old timers? Do you want to go watch whatever WWE pulls from out of the draws for a house show?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a traveling thing where it moves year to year because back during the Georgia Championship Wrestling days, like they actually had a following in Ohio, a big one. So they used to actually have shows in Ohio because of basically they came about getting so much fame. They decided to run some A shows in Ohio in the 80s and the 70s. So anyway, so they decided to do it in Ohio this year, and then next thing you know, like Starrcade was announced like in the last like month or so in Cincinnati. What a coincidence.
Yeah.
So you know, it's petty, but it's also a bunch of guys that are trying to get some money off of that have all, who knows how many people have worked for Vince that are going to be at this convention, and they still did this. It's like, it's weird, really weird. It's not like they're trying to get TV. It's not like they're running a Fed. Like, they're just doing a convention there.
Yeah, just petty. Just all around, just like, y'all don't need to compete with them. Like, what are you doing? So when we talk about WWE signing all the people literally up in the world to try to prevent anything, this is like this is on that tree of them trying to squash all fires before they become blazes, no matter how big or small they are. If you have TV, they want in. Well, or if you have any type of money being made, they want in. It's
like they're
crazy.
like they're Noriega and they're out here like tripping over some 8 balls being moved. Like, what? Like, what? Like, this is just overkill.
Yeah,
like, you can't own everything. It's not even healthy for you to own everything.
I don't even think they know that. Like, they don't know that. So, got a question from Miguel. He said, "Have you seen Ronda on Instagram crying?" I did see that, where she was basically pondering how much time she got away from home. In WWE, she was showing her boyfriend the bruises that were a part of the beatdown from Charlotte, and this is when she was talking about the turkeys that she harvested and all that. And then, of course, Becky gave her that work.
What is this from? Is this from like a show that I'm unaware of, or is this actually on her Instagram?
So Ronda actually has a YouTube channel in association with her website, and she did like a 2-part Thanksgiving Q&A, and she just had the camera on. Her husband was recording her, and she was just talking to him, and then she just broke down crying in the middle of it, talking about her being gone and all this other stuff, and it was just like weird. So, and then after that, she was talking about like harvesting the turkeys and giving them a good life before Thanksgiving and everything like that. So it was, it was a little weird, but I'd recommend checking it out. She gave you a little something as she was like, talking about. Let me see what else we got here. But yeah, that was Starrcade. I feel like it's going to get bigger, and this is going to be a part of their renewed initiative to beef up the house shows and use kind of like the network for things that I would think they would do. Like, they're running the cameras anyway there, right? So it's like, air some of that stuff. Like, I think this creates more value for the network, and that would help with their, they're always after like watch hours. Like, if you throw like a random hour up, you could do this literally every night of the week if you wanted.
Yeah. I have a question. Can you go through that list and then like give me like how many baby faces won on the card?
Sure. So, Seth Rollins won. So that's 1. AJ Styles won. Rusev and Rey Mysterio won. Charlotte won. Bray Wyatt won. They were all baby faces. Drew McIntyre won, which is a heel. The B team defeated the Revival. They were faces, and the faces women went over. So yeah, this house show, everyone but McIntyre. Yeah, that sounds like that would actually like never happen in WWE, like on TV. So they do the house shows and send you home happy.
Yeah. I mean, doing this TV, it's...
fuck you. Yeah, fuck you.
Good moments, what are those?
Yeah. Yeah, man. So next thing I want to talk about today, Lars Sullivan. So this gentleman has been... he's been all in the news on Twitter. If you have not heard about it, a lot of the big sites aren't reporting it yet, but kind of like some of the aggregators that are all over this, like PW Stream, Ringside News, different stuff like that. And they've uncovered some like Lars Sullivan posts to like bodybuilding.com. Of course, he has a couple of pseudonyms that he was posting under, like Disenfranchised, or a couple of different ones. Doesn't really matter, but they trace all these posts back to him, and they are literally about everything under the sun. There are ones about black people. There are ones about rape. There are ones about him fucking Ronda Rousey supposedly back in the day.
There's one about Stephanie.
There's one about Stephanie McMahon.
KFC is for lower class people.
He called Jeff Hardy a junkie. Like this man was raw and uncut.
Yeah, one is something like a junkie that can't really wrestle or something like that.
Yeah, and he was talking about some African Americans want a piece of pity pie, and immigrants just want free stuff. And there are more. And I was told by the guy that runs the Ringside News that they haven't kicked the door open to half of what is to come from this thing. So take that how you want it. But this is a lot of people are, calling, be like, wow, what the fuck's going to happen to Lars? What do you think? Is this going to, like, why is this coming out now and all that? Of course, that's the defense. Like, why did they do this when he was in NXT? It's like, it doesn't really matter when they did it. It was going to happen. So, he would be more likely to get cut if they were in NXT rather than if he was on the main roster, because they would have invested in him to a certain point. But the Stephanie stuff is really bad. The Ronda stuff is really bad. He's got a lot of stuff he's got to essentially apologize for and all that. But for me, this is different from the Hogan thing. This is a pure internet culture kind of thing that I think we're all trying to figure out as, basically the kids of the first like real kind of have a computer in your house era, like age into, being who they are, and those things are getting uncovered. Like we're going to have obviously we have a president now. You can pull up his old tweets about stuff he says, but we're going to have a president that's like our age, right now. James and I are like around, 30 or whatever. We're going to in the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be like presidents or, other people that they're going to be going back and be like, yeah, what were they tweeting as a 16-year-old? And this is like a thing that's like, we're all still trying to figure out. I had a guy that, has followed me for a while on Twitter, reach out and ask what I thought about it. It was like, the deal with Lars, essentially, like he was like, WWE has to fire him, right? Like he can't survive all that. I was like, well, not really. Like they don't have to per se, because they've demonstrated that their leash is like much longer than people saying things on Twitter. Lars definitely has to have a great public apology. Like when I say a great public apology, I think the best public apology you can possibly have and everything like that. But he still got to take his lumps as far as like all the jokes, people going in on him. Like that's going to happen. But he can survive this. Like, what do you think about all that? Like, should they like be looking at getting rid of him, or is this a learning moment?
Oh boy. Okay, so just to start back even further than that, you said that you think there's going to be a president that's roughly our age when we get to that point in, next 25 or 10 to 25 years, that is going to have this kind of stuff built on their like internet history thing or social media or whatever else. Like, well, maybe because maybe like that's where we're headed now that we have Trump. There might be something beyond Trump, and we're just gonna have more wild shit. But if it ever comes back towards like less chaotic, more I don't want to say respectable, more in pocket. That's the best way. More in pocket, less off the wall stuff. Then like these people like professional politicians already have that handled and taken care of.
Okay.
Before they even get to that certain level, like you're not even supposed to be able to make it to like being a House senator, you know, with that kind of stuff in your internet history, let alone make it up to a president. So I mean, hopefully we get more back to where we were before 2015 with the craziness with Trump. But moving on forward as far as the Lars stuff, I think Lars doesn't have to be fired. Do I want to be fired? Not necessarily. Do I think he needs to apologize for the shit the shit that is attached to him if it actually is in fact him? Well, damn right. Now, given WWE and their history when it comes to apologies for this sort of thing, like he can get away with the I was young, blah 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 blah. I said this and I've grown, and then I have to explain how he's grown and how he feels now today compared to then, which is basically like makes your apology purposeless or useless. But there's some very bare minimum motherfuckers, so I can imagine them they'll let it go. So that's kind of where we are. Only thing, I mean, I can imagine it could affect his push once he gets there, because it's like you just got here, I don't even know you, and you causing me a headache. I can see Vince being like roll his eyes at him and whatever. But I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I think he's got to definitely make it right with, like, before he even, like, starts talking to the fans and everything like that. He's definitely got to make it right within the locker room with, like carrying Jeff Hardy's bag for a month or something like that.
How about this? Like Lars shows up on one random episode of Monday Night Raw, and then all of a sudden Stephanie shows up right behind him, and then emasculates him immediately. Slaps him.
Oh, my God. Give him a slap.
Like, look, I mean, we would all think like, oh, they're burying this dude or whatever, but like, then you'd be like, well, are they, or is this how they treat everybody any damn way? They just have expedited the process of him eventually getting slapped.
Right. Yeah, so I think, this is something like, I'm sure there are folks that are like, yeah, he needs to be fired and all that stuff, but like, everybody's like, I think this is something we're all still learning about. So for me, it's totally different than a Hogan situation where he was busted on a sex tape, being an overt racist and all that. This is a little bit different. And, he definitely has some problematic shit in there that he's talking about. It's very vulgar and all that, but I don't think it's anything he can't come back from. And this can't happen going forward. Like this has to be the end of the line.
Yeah, another thing is like, given what we know about some of the politics of the people that own the company, like it ain't too far different from what we think Vince or anybody else that runs that company necessarily thinks, or too far out of the realm of that possibility of them being like, oh, hold on now, slow down. Nah.
Yeah. But yeah, man, last thing I want to talk about today was the all Elite Wrestling. These trademarks that have been filed by a group basically using the address of the Jacksonville Jaguars football team. They filed a bunch of trademarks last week.
I think my favorite part about the all Elite Wrestling story and the trademarks kind of stuff is that like the address is literally like connected to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like y'all,
Bro,
y'all are the worst goddamn crooks I've ever seen in my life.
It's like they ain't even try, bro.
Not at all.
If they was trying to keep this a secret, that was a terrible job doing that. Yes. Because that's literally the smoking gun. Like. So, as I'm getting the Facebook Live back up, if you guys are watching this video, please hit us with a thumbs up or a like.
You know what that remind me of? Somebody just like, wait a second, bro. Like y'all hustle, like your hustle game is all fucked up, right? Last time was when Peyton Manning had the HGH that was named under his wife's name that was sent to the house. Is like, dude, come on, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying you took HGH or not, Peyton. All I'm saying is when it's your wife's name is coming to your house, that shit looks fucking terrible. You
Yes.
gotta do better than this. Like, you can't send that shit to Cooper. You can't send that shit to Cooper and Cooper sends it to you.
Right. Cooper ain't doing nothing,
Nothing at all.
But back to the story here. Normally trademark filings, they don't really have much to do with anything, but of course the Elite name is linked to it, and that's owned by Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. And Double or Nothing was said to be the name of the second All In. And of course, they're talking about doing a holiday show, second quarter, Vegas 2019. Ultimately, this is going to come down to if these guys are able to get TV or some type of major streaming product, with like an ESPN 3 or whatever their app is, or anyone that wants to have wrestling. Me, the thing about this is, where they could actually see some success is the trickle down effect of other networks saying, hey, since Fox is handing out $1 billion, wrestling must be this hot commodity. And of course, they've got, the drawing, of All In, which was a big success this year. They've got the merchandising with the Young Bucks, and there are at least a couple stations, I think, that might be willing to, gamble on something like that. One being an ESPN, 2 being Turner, 3 like a WGN America. And then there's, of course, still other channels, that would like to, do something. But I would love, I would love nothing more than AEW to become the new WCW and to have 2 major league promotions in America, for as big as Ring of Honor is. And, Sinclair hasn't really shown a commitment to them to, make them bigger than what they are. And I was talking about this with Josh. Ring of Honor is at a point whether they have to figure out if they're going to be a small, big company or a big, small company. So it's like they got to figure it out. So, and the thing is, with wrestlers and, the way these guys are on the move, just telling them they're only going to be at a certain level, I don't think that's going to fly for a lot of them. Like, that's obviously not flying with the Elite, because they're like, well, why don't we go start our own shit? Like, we clearly have the contacts, we have the capital now. All they need pretty much is the TV deal. James, what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
I mean, I'm kind of at the point where all of this sounds good, but I don't want to get my hopes up. So, and also I kind of want to see these dudes. I feel like I watch enough fucking wrestling as it is. I don't feel like I need to watch another show. So so me selfishly, I want them to either stay their asses where they're at or come to WWE. And this other thing doesn't really help me. This only means there's even more wrestling. And now that they're gonna have takeovers for NXT UK, and now they're pick up from where I left off on the second episode of NXT UK. So woe is me, I guess. So I have to watch more wrestling, right? But
yeah, same.
Right, but I mean, it does suck when you're trying to watch, non-fake sports and other stuff too, and have a life. But for me, anyway, put this aside, is I'm trying to figure out what venues do they have it, if they even have that in place, what venues they have in mind. I heard stuff about they want to do house shows. I'm like, what's the purpose of even doing house shows at this juncture, other than just to do them? If you have the TV, focus on the TV, and then worry about trying to work at places where there's going to be towns that you can actually draw, whatever many you need to do your television, or your tapings or whatever they're going to do. If they even get to that point, who knows if Vince decides, all right, Adam, Hangman, here's $5 million a year. What you going to do now?
Yeah.
So
I think the only thing I throw that off with them not wanting to upset the structure, and that's a big thing from the last time they had a bunch of talent on the outside of WWE. They didn't want to upset the structure, the pay structure, but they can literally afford everyone if they want them. But I think this is going to be really interesting with All Elite because it creates a situation where they have working relationships with New Japan, Ring of Honor, CMLL, Rev Pro, Impact, and
the thing for me, I feel like is, yes, you're worried about a salary, about upsetting the pay scale, but if you get these guys, when's your next fight coming?
Yeah, we're at this is a turning point in the business. You joked off air that this is like the decision of wrestling.
Yeah, right. I forgot I even said that. But like for me, it's like, all right, if you get the Elite and all the other people around the Elite or whatever else that they want to do the all for one for all musketeer shit, if you get all of them signed, then like the expansion of New Japan into the West.
Slows up.
Ring of Honor, TNA, MLW, all of that shit will all basically fall by the wayside, but all that shit will be damaged significantly in compared to where they've grown and Ring of Honor had like their biggest amount of growth in like ever, and that's based off the strength of you have the Young Bucks and Cody there, and you can also get Kenny Omega on the card for whatever. Like we were there in New Orleans, like, and you saw the merchandise that was there. Like, how many people were buying like Kenny or Kenny or those Team Kenny shits, thinking that those were actually about Kenny Omega, right? Like, how many Silas Young shirts that you see out there, right? So for me, it's like, yeah, I understand you don't want to upset your pay scale, but like, unless you're worried about AJ Styles, who's now 40-something years old, going out there and doing it all over again, or Nakamura, who you've basically flattened, and also moved his whole family to America. Doesn't seem like he's going to re-up regardless. Like, what else is the next battle? Like, and when would that be coming that you can see ahead over? You can see over this above, like to the horizon. Like, what's next on the horizon past?
This is it for at least
year.
This is it for at least a couple years because
that's my
they're going to need to like build up their names to get to the point where these guys are right now.
So my point is, if you throw out that money now, if you're WWE, you throw out that money now, you're worried about your pay scale. Thing is, like knowing how you book these guys, whatever else, once you're paying a lot of money, like once you get these guys and you fuck off with every single one of them, they're not going to be nearly as hot as they are right now compared to 3 years from now. So they can go out there and try and run a little fed. Then they'll all be old and like, Big Matt, the big bout Kenny will be like, oh, okay, he's the second, like he's like, this is my main event for the company now in New Japan, like 4 years from now. Like, so for me, it's like, you can take advantage. If your whole thing is world domination, then that's what you do. You go out there and you overpay them or whatever else to make sure they don't get the shit off the ground. And you ruin all their careers on the way, and then you hope people put them on ice for the rest of their life if they want to get uppity about it. And then you keep running your little monopoly because that's the best cruel, calculated businessman you've always been. Am I wrong?
I think that's what the WWE should do, but I think these guys shouldn't be going full ahead with All Elite Wrestling because more options. Right.
But also like, okay, me and you both want them to run, both in some circumstances want there to be a secondary competition for WWE so they can actually unfuck themselves creatively and like give people what they want as opposed to ultimately like trying to serve so many matches that they rarely ever serve anyone,
right?
On the main roster anyway. So I would also stop saying for me realistically, I'm thinking like that's not something that is going to be something that's actually going to I forgot my train of thought, but basically what I'm saying was if they get in the way of this is it for a long time. So you might as well just get over with for a long time so you don't have any competition because y'all don't want competition, period. Y'all have shown over and over and over y'all want competition. So go ahead and spend that money and, either make the best out of the situation with all of the money you spent or don't because you did the same thing with Del Rio. So move on, right? So
yeah, man, I think the Elite has a special opportunity that not a lot of wrestlers have. And this is a make or break moment in pretty much this decade, essentially. Like all the indie has led to this. Like it's like, well, is it going to stay this way, or are you going to try to like set up some shit that could be here forever? And if you're that you've had all this like type of success, if you're the Young Bucks, if you're Cody, if you're Omega, doing it your way on some DIY shit, why would you want to hand that over? And I don't think they do. And I think this is potentially like the next thing. So I hope it happens. I hope it's very successful. I hope they get a TV deal. And of course, like for me, when I grew up, there were two great wrestling companies in America. It was WWE and WCW, like, or WWF and WCW. And, you know, I don't know if All Elite Wrestling can be WCW, because obviously they're going to need, they're going to need young talent. They're going to need to develop their own like kind of pipeline of people. But I think they're off to like a good start, like with the working relationships, because that's like the thing that's going to make fans like that are already down with All Elite Wrestling. Like basically it's like rare attractions. Like if we can see dudes from CMLL, like we're going to fuck with that. If we can see, dream matches, we're going to fuck with that. And as best as I know, like Omega and the Bucks, like they're not going to come out there and waste these matches in ways that, oh, well, we gave it to you, right? Like where, they run Daniel Bryan and Brock Lesnar as both of them heels. No, they're going to make that shit as good as they can fucking make it. Like, and we have like All In as proof.
Yeah, and the thing for me that also brings me back to just overpay the guys and just have them is that, all right, if you were to go pay Nick, Matt, Kenny, and Cody, I don't know, whatever random amount per year you would say, give me a random number that you think it would take to get them.
I would say like $5 million, or I would say like probably like $3 million on the downside.
Piece. So $12 million a year for them. Right.
That's a relatively small investment.
So compared to you having to go pay, like if they do start up, to compare to having to go pay Chris Jericho, Penta, Ray, Joey Ryan, SCU, Jordan Grace, Tessa Blanchard, all these other people that you have to do to get those people. Like it would probably end up somewhere around that price anyway.
So you think they should? So you think they should like just pick everyone else off?
No, what I'm saying is, if people are like your point was earlier about like paying that amount of money is a steep price to just get four guys. Like, well, the alternative is they start the Fed, and then like what's going to happen is you go down the line playing like their chess, playing the chessboard. After they start up the company, the WWE is immediately going to start signing all these guys, all these other guys that will potentially be.
It's already happening.
Whatever. Right, but it will be even more. So the point is, like, you think of the amount of money that will cost them just to do that. They may as well just go ahead and pay Kenny and them that money, and just go ahead and just cut it off at the pass right now. But yeah, I really would like the idea of another wrestling Fed, but I feel like that's not. I mean, this turns into a 5, 10, 15 year thing or whatever else, and turns into all of a sudden these guys aren't wrestlers anymore. Now they're like just the booking committee and everything else is trying to make this thing go back and forth. If we even get down to this path as far as like trying to go back and forth and try to run a competitive, or not competitive, but a product capable of matching someone on the national level or going national besides WWE. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's all really interesting and cool to talk about, but like, there's so much more stuff that has to come ahead before we even get to that point. It's almost feel like we're really out in front of our skis on this one.
Yeah. So the next 2 months, that's going to be a big talking point for what is to come. Let me check the comments to see. Looks like we just had people joining us here. Let me see what we got, but Yeah, man, I think that's pretty much all that we have this week for One Nation Radio. Hold on one sec. This page, stay on this page. Yeah, but make sure you guys check out all the rest of the shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Of course, we host One Nation Radio over the weekends. There's the Outsider's Edge with Ransom, Carl, and Kyle. We also have Keepin It Strong Style, who will have their awards show coming up soon. I believe I will be on that as well. Grown Man Watch This Shit, and the Ricky and Clive wrestling show. So shouts out to Ricky and Clive. We were supposed to be on there last week, but we're gonna figure that out in the coming weeks. James, you got anything to add before we roll up out of here?
Not too much. I'm over here terrified of Aaron Rodgers when there's only like 3 minutes left in the game and we're up by 2 scores.
Well, I mean, he is Aaron Rodgers, so you might as well just keep watching. So.
Yeah. And as he says that, he just like a 40-yard, like not a touchdown, but 40 yards, like change the field position.
Yeah. So best believe. But anyway, that's gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching. We're out of here. Peace.
Later.
Thank you for listening to One Nation Radio. We'll see you next time.